we're waiting for a few people to get on. We have a rather large registration for today. We appreciate your time, and we will still be able to finish on time. Before we get started into the overcoming objections portion of the discussion today, I wanted to make sure, just in case anyone missed it, that we touch base quickly on our collaboration with Microsoft in Spanning, which is a new holistic risk management approach to cyber protection for small and middle market clients. This is really exciting for us, and the reason being that when you're looking at the small and middle market segment, it doesn't make a lot of sense for a smaller middle market company to spend and utilize and have the resources available to do all the things that a large enterprise does in their IT securitization. And that's one of the things that this complete holistic solution does in enabling insureds to see three partners who come together to give them that enterprise level, that large corporation level of protection and detection services. So the way the collaboration works is that we've come together with our cyber protection program. If one of your clients buys our program and they look into the Microsoft Office 365, which is Microsoft's cloud provision, their cloud services, and Spanning Backup for Office 365, which is a component to provide backup services in the case of incorrectly deleted or intentionally deleted by bad actors types of backup data files. By bringing all three of the pieces together, it really brings an enterprise-level solution to the small middle market with a really good upside of not having the same tax on their resources as you would see with trying to do this all themselves and bring it all on board. So it's an exciting collaboration. If they have our policy and they ask for Office 365 and Spanning Backup for Office 365, they're entitled to a discount, and vice versa. If they migrate to the cloud with Office 365 and Spanning Backup for the 365, they're eligible for credits for the controls that they end up having in place. So without going any further on that, we can always take questions later, and we're available for questions via email or phone afterward. I wanted to make sure we have plenty of time for overcoming cyber insurance objections. So when we're looking at selling cyber, most of the time we're looking at first-time buyers in this particular space. So when you're looking at it, there are so few companies that actually buy in the total space that we're looking at. And when you see these numbers that about 1/3 of businesses currently carry cyber insurance, it's actually got a higher probability of happening than a lot of the other things that they take for granted and would never let lapse and always buy. But when you look at our space in particular, in the small to medium-sized businesses, it's a much lower percentage of uptake rate on the cyber insurance. And so we wanted to make sure that as we're approaching that, that's the group that we've wanted to specifically approach with our product. We want to make sure that we arm you with as many of the answers to the objections that are most commonly heard, especially in the small to middle market space. So Jason, are you ready?
Yep, I'm here and ready.
All right, great. So objection number 10. Jason, we're not a technology company.
The truth is, every business utilizes technology in the delivery of services to others. So, a lot of businesses, think that cyber insurance is simply just a data breach response policy, or only for technology companies. Whereas a cyber policy is really designed to address the emerging risks arising from the use and reliance on technology in the delivery of services to every customer that every business has. I use the example of a trailer manufacturer, that you would think that that's about as far away from a technology company as possible, but all machinery on the floor is computer controlled. All their accounting systems are computer controlled. All their customer service relationship databases are all electronic and technology dependent. Impacts to those systems can bring a significant impact to a business in an immediate fashion.
Okay, but our general liability policy will cover the loss if we get sued.
It's a common thought. General liability policy forms have been amazing forms that have addressed a huge variety of risks in traditional business format for a long time. But in just recent history, ISO in 2014 released the data loss liability exclusion in order to specifically clarify that the GL policy form is not designed for electronic exposures or data breach exposures. In addition, there have been several pretty notable court decisions where the GL policy was found, even outside of that exclusion, to have not been designed to address a variety of data privacy breach losses. And then you can bore them with specifics if you so desire.
Okay, but we don't sell anything online.
This is a common thought. Cyber is truly an unfortunate name, but the name really has stuck. The insurance policy addresses the enterprise-wide privacy and network security risks. The more accurate name really is a privacy and network security liability policy form, but it lacks the marketing zing of cyber. What cyber truly does is it addresses the emerging cover gaps due to every business's increasing reuse of technology and their increasing reliance on data in their daily operations. That's what the cyber insurance policy form is designed for. It's not just an online presence, it's to address your data and technology perils.
Objection number 7 is we have top-notch security in place.
Every business out there invests a huge amount of time and treasure in development of their IT security and their physical security. And as a result, every business will have a pretty high reliance of high level of faith in their technology systems. The truth is that security can never account for simple human error or human ingenuity. The breaches that I have been involved with range from I simply forgot my computer in the cab to targeted social engineering actions where the criminal is simply compromising the human desire to trust. The highly sophisticated criminal, they're exploiting the ability of humans to trust others. And the truth is, there is really no such thing as perfect security. The CIA, the White House, and even the NSA have sustained cyber breaches from both inside and outside sources. So, cyber security is a very important element, but we firmly believe that cyber insurance augments and enhances a comprehensive risk management solution.
Okay, so objection number 6, we're a small firm. We're just not a target for hackers.
And the response to this is that every business is a target for hackers and faces cyber risk, but unfortunately small businesses are particularly vulnerable. So a recent study by PricewaterhouseCoopers has found that compromises of mid-sized firms, this is from 0 to 250 million in revenue, rose 64% during the time period of 2013 to 2014. And there's a very comprehensive data study that is performed by Verizon Communications, and in their data breach investigations report, they found that 62% of all data breaches reported and studied were actually in the small Main Street enterprise business space. Again, that's the 250 million in revenue and below. So a whopping 2/3 of all breaches incurred have been in the small business space. The reason for this could be many. One is that there's oftentimes a little lower level of security, lower levels of administration than you would have at a larger public corporation. But also, it's it's just every business is a potential victim of criminal activity and mishap.
And the only thing I'm going to add to that is not about someone actually targeting anymore with the new range of bots. Jason, you want to talk about what bots are quickly?
If you mean like an automated sniffer, if you will, that goes out and looks for vulnerabilities. It basically is an automated software program that will send out pings to every IP address, every basically computer presence, looking for, okay, is this and what it does is it pings, asks, what is your security system, what is your operating system, what is your firewall system, and back, because computers are designed to try and trust each other and communicate to each other, when it reports back with its findings, the bot can identify, okay, this is a security system that they have a known compromise with. This is a security system that they know how to penetrate, and so they go, aha, here we go. So it doesn't even require, a lot of work on behalf of a hacker. They simply set up a software package that will actually sniff out opportunity for you, and then they will then go after. So it's not that they targeted you because you trade in China. They targeted you because your software has a known vulnerability.
So number 5, I don't collect any data or information.
The response to this is fun. Every business has employee records, payment information, vendor supplier information, marketing lists. And every business is very reliant on data. Without a customer list, without prospective customer list, a business is literally dead in the water. Employee records, both of current employees, past employees, and even prospective employees. On the applications, you're capturing Social Security numbers, addresses, employment history, health information oftentimes, all of which has a sensitive nature that can cause significant impact to a business. And beyond that, so cyber is far more than just a data breach cover. Too often people will focus on the breach of financial records, breach of credit card information. But cyber is addressing the failure of a business to maintain and safekeep the relationship between themselves and with whom they've conducted business. What I refer to this as the untouched third rail of privacy liability. And it's something that could be significantly catastrophic and in ways that you wouldn't anticipate. One of the more notable and very interesting recent scenarios is the Erin Andrews case against the West End Hotel Partners. So the Marriott Hotel did not sustain a data breach. They weren't victims of a cyber crime. It simply was a criminal called the front desk asking for room information. He utilized that information to manipulate the door, take the video, and then cause significant personal harm to Erin Andrews. She then brought suit against the West End Hotel Partners, not for cyber breach, but for mishandling her personal information, which led to a significant emotional distress and demanded, in the 8 figures of millions of dollars. This is what I mean by it's not just a data breach policy. It's a comprehensive privacy liability policy form addressing the failure of a business to maintain the confidentiality of their business relationships. And then network security is also another fun element. Cyber is not just your cyber presence isn't just your physical experience. It also is what's your technology presence and how it can impact others. A notable example is the Fazio Mechanical Services. They were the HVAC contractor that was monitoring HVAC systems for Target. They were utilized as the, for lack of a better term, patsy to enter into Target's computer systems because there was an unchecked and open port, essentially, allowing that Fazio Mechanical Services to be the entry point to Target. So the failure of Fazio Mechanical Services to secure the network caused significant liability to Target.
So number 4, I just don't see the value of a cyber policy.
Yeah, and this is a very common objection. The best response to this is that cyber insurance is far more than an insurance product. It really is a risk management solution for the rapidly expanding and evolving cyber risks. There is no business that could ever adequately prepare or staff up to respond to the variety of cyber perils that are out there. Whether you're a small business or large, you're never going to adequately, you're not going to have a team that suited for every forensic response or every privacy response or even just an HR scenario. This is where a cyber insurance policy brings far more to the table, and that it delivers to you a team of very well prepared and a team of folks with white pages of a lot of other vendors who can support and bring their knowledge and experience to solving the crisis on behalf of the insured. And then lastly, a study by the U.S. National Cybersecurity Alliance found that a full 60% of all small companies will fail within 6 months of a cybercrime attack. And with the further extrapolating to that is 2 in 5 businesses will sustain a cyber attack in the coming year. So if you know that of that 2 in 5 businesses, a whopping nearly 2/3 of them will fail in 6 months, of course, an insurance product that can perhaps both risk manage and risk transfer that exposure is of significant value.
Last 3, here we go. I can't afford a cyber policy.
In as recent as 2 years, that was a very accurate response. But truthfully, premiums are down considerably as the market has been flooded with capacity and new providers. In addition, there have been over 10 years of actuarial information which has greatly stabilized rates. So no longer are you seeing pricing jumping from one year to the next and back down. You're seeing a very stable and very stable pricing platform and a very stable consistency across most markets in the delivering of pricing for similar product. In addition, the Schinner Cyber Protection Package program, the minimum premium is only $750, and that can be for any limit, from $250,000 to $1 million in limit. So that should eliminate most of the affordability arguments.
Number 2, our money is better spent on additional IT security.
And this is a valid point. Many will view the cyber insurance policy as strictly to stay if indeed our security fails. And that's, again, that's not the point. The cyber insurance product, it augments and complements IT security as a risk management solution. It's really it delivers both the risk management solution and it also has the risk transfer element with the insurance part. But here are a fun few statistics that I find to be particularly entertaining. A recent study by TrustWave found that the return on investment to be 1,425% on exploit kits and ransomware schemes. And with returns like that, every business will be vulnerable. And to extrapolate on that a little bit, an exploit kit or a ransomware scheme, you can actually go to what's called the dark web, or for lack of a term, the Craigslist for criminal activity, and you can purchase exploit kits, which are software packages that have already compromised a specific business, or it has identified specific entry points how to exploit a specific business. You would then buy a package from the person who has developed it, and then the return on investment of that purchase has been found to be about 1,425% on that original investment bid. So again, as long as there's that level of return, you're going to have a continual market for individuals to utilize that service. A study by the National Cybersecurity Alliance found that 1 in 5 small businesses fall victim to cybercrime each year. So I was actually a little wrong there. It's not 2 in 5, it's 1 in 5 small businesses. So 20% of every businesses out there are going to fall victim to a cybercrime. If 20% of all businesses were going to fall victim to a fire, and would they object to the potential of the fire insurance premium? Of course not. And then lastly, this one's fun. The study by PricewaterhouseCoopers US found that there to be an average of 117,339 cyber attacks and security incidents per day. That's not per year, that's per day. That same study has found that the annual growth rate has increased 66% year over year since 2009. So every year, the amount of cyber attacks and cyber activities that are going on are increasing at 66% every year, year over year, with an average of 117,339 cyber attacks a day. A personal anecdote for fun is I was a network admin at Sprint back in 1999, and they were reporting about 30,000 clearly identified hacker attempts or intrusion attempts on their network every day, and that was in 1999. That was just one company, Sprint. So if you can imagine the rapid expansion of the amount of impacts and the amount of criminal activity and illicit activity occurring on the net now, it boggles the mind, if you ask me.
And the number 1 objection, sorry, no drum roll or symbol. We outsource our IT services.
And for every small business, this is the objection that they're going to be sitting there thinking, this is not my obligation. I have a contract in place, and I work with some top levels vendors. This isn't my problem, basically. But the truth is, the data regulations apply to the collector of the information and not the processor of the information. So a vendor breach is the legal responsibility of the actual business who collected it, and legal responsibility cannot be transferred by contract. So even though the vendor, who is top-notch, wonderful, and excellent, if they sustain a compromise, sustain a breach or a loss event that compromises the business's their business's client information, ultimately the business is responsible by that data law or regulation. Now your contract may provide you some indemnification opportunity, but the indemnification agreements in all contracts that I have had the opportunity to review limit the value of indemnification to just the value of the contract or a portion of the value of the contract, which is typically well below the actual expense or actual loss value of a cyber event. And in addition, if you're utilizing a large vendor, if they sustain a systemic breach or a compromise, your business, you're insured, and every other business that is a client of that vendor is going to be standing at the door with their hands out asking for collection. There simply may not be enough insurance or assets to indemnify your insured, leaving them fully in the dark. So this is where so vendors are valuable, but vendors are not a safeguard. And lastly, a cyber insurance policy is designed also to address a variety of impacts, ranging from digital asset restoration. If there was a compromise or an encryption issue, it can respond and cover some of the costs that they might incur in restoring their information. And there's more than just data breach response that can come into play with the cyber risk.
Okay, that brings us up to our question session. Because of the number of people who are participating in the call today, we're going to do all the questions online. So if you can type in your questions, that would be great. We have a couple already. So the first question was regarding Microsoft Office 365. Yes, the big question is, when can we expect to be able to process the credits if Microsoft Office 365 and spanning backup for 365 have been purchased? And so that is when we receive the information, if you know that the client has Office 365 and spanning backup for 365, let us know that, and we will process the credits. If it's midterm on a policy, what we'll do is we will be able to mark the file for the renewal and be able to provide the credits at renewal. Second question is whether or not we can get the slides out. We absolutely will be able to get the slide deck out, and we also have, we recorded this? We did record it, so it'll be available for playback as well. The next question: what are the most common causes of losses which you envision this policy to respond to? Jason, do you want to jump in there?
The cause of loss that I am most concerned with, I'll be honest, is the deceptive funds transfer or the social engineering loss. That's where a business is tricked or deceived into transferring their funds or making a payment to what they think is a vendor or what they think is a client, but ultimately it's a criminal who has tricked or deceived them. We've already had had an event reported to us, and I foresee this to being a rapidly expanding risk. And for me personally, in the history of being involved in data privacy and cyber risk, almost all losses have been, basically simple human error or smash and grab scenarios, ranging from somebody, just kicking in the front door of a small office and running off with all electronics that they can find, to we actually even had a box of records fall off the back of a moving truck once. It's just small little events, but they can lead to a significant expense.
We're running out of time fast, so we're going to try to jump through these. How do you know what limit for that a client should carry? That's one of those challenging questions, because right now there is so little data in this space in particular that we're occupying, because there has been such a low uptake rate that we've been very excited about our uptake rate being double digit, and so when you look at the uptake rate that has been historically in this space, it's very small. So it's very difficult to pinpoint those, so we don't have a clear answer, but we can take a look at seeing what we can do. And then the last one we're going to be able to get to, and if you have any questions, you can keep sending them in. We'll keep the line open, and we'll make sure we get back to addressing them, is what would you consider the 3 coverages to be most important? So going to what Jason said, the deceptive transfer, the sophistication level with which they can convince you that they are legitimate is really amazing. It is our biggest concern. When you look at the aspects of making sure that the network security and privacy coverage are there, because what you want is you want the data breach coach. That's the biggest thing we see in this segment, is making sure you've got someone on your side to help you and your client get through that crisis and make sure that it's minimized. There's one of the things that we've seen is people immediately will pick up the phone and call the police, and they report that they've had a ransomware attack or some kind of an attack on the system. And so, again, having that protocol to know when you do report, when you don't report, having someone who's privileged, all the information is privileged because it's actually an attorney that's helping take you through this, who's an expert in the regulations and also the unspoken regulations. So while the regulator may say you have to provide a year, if you don't provide 2 years, they're going to do a top-to-bottom investigation of your organization. So understanding the written and the unwritten rules of the road in cyber is a big part of what our data breach coach brings. So Jason, do you have any other thoughts on where you see the biggest key areas?
The last one I would mention will be cyber extortion. I think with the shift to chip and PIN and a little higher level of security for payment card, I see a rise in cyber extortion demands. So I think having a cyber extortion cover with a low deductible and adequate limit is a valuable insurance consideration.
So what we can do is we can continue and finish answering the questions, but for anyone who needs to drop off, I know we've run over. We pride ourselves on getting you in and out in half an hour, but for anyone who wants to stay on, we will continue and finish the questions that can be checked into later if you don't have time now. So, and then also on the last page of the presentation, you will also have our contact information if you have any further questions. So how would the cyber policy respond to the theft and or copyright of proprietary design plans of a building? You know, Jason, I'm going to go ahead and let you jump on this one.
So our form does include third-party corporate information. So if your business is working with a client and they have entrusted you by a non-disclosure agreement or a similar confidentiality agreement, some high-profile information or other information that has proprietary value to your client, and your insured is then compromised, breached, internally, externally, however, but that information is then put out, that would be the network security liability component of the policy, or privacy liability component of the policy. So if they sued you for improper release of the information, our form could consider it. In addition, our form also will provide forensic response and public relations response in a proactive manner to try and minimize any impacts to your clients and hopefully reduce potential liability. Let's, in the scenario where you have that proprietary information in your system and it's released, breached, compromised, and you're aware of this, you can trigger the first-party cover and try and hopefully placate the clients, run a little bit of a PR campaign to minimize impact to your insured, and then prepare for the potential of a claim, which the form could consider.
Okay, and then before I get to the last question, I want to thank everyone for the shout-outs. We got a couple of shout-outs here, so very much appreciated if you're still on the line. And the last is, we are seeing extortion events on the rise. Does this policy provide coverage? Absolutely. We have cyber extortion coverage written into the form, so it's something that is an important aspect of the coverage, especially as you continue to see this when we talk about the automated approach to attacking clients. Actually, Jason, do you want to touch base on one of the markets that's popped up in the dark web with respect to not necessarily being the one who exploits the the opportunities, the gaps in security, but actually selling the exploitation aspect in the dark web.
Yeah, and that's that 1,400 some odd percent return on investment for the exploit kits that you can purchase. So they'll actually provide to you. Let's say you are a criminal and desire to try and execute criminal activities, but don't like holding a gun or don't want to be in your face. You can actually become a cyber criminal relatively easily. So you can purchase the exploit kits, which will include the encryption software that you need. It'll include either a PDF doc or some other items that are easily exploitable and easily triggerable by an inside source, and oftentimes may even include targeted emails or targeted individuals that you can then send the extortion demand to. And then they will then just simply email or direct to the targeted individual with the exploited attachment. The individual within the business will then open up the attachment, launching the executable, which will then launch the encryption software in the network along with the virus that was purchased off the dark web. And it will then you just follow up with the demand, say, I have the keys for release of this encryption if you desire. Please pay in Bitcoin to XYZ location. And part of the wonderful purchase of this exploit kit will include a customer service support to allow you, the Bitcoin to be received and then anonymously distributed to the original purchaser of the exploit kit. It's remarkably easy and very effective. Yeah, just put it that way.
So one of the questions we had was, do we have a copy of our policy on the website? Yes, we do. Jillian, what's the website address again?
If you go to schinner.com/cyber, you will see on the right-hand side there is a menu, and policy forms is one of the options. So if you click there, you'll be able to download the PDF.
I think that pretty much wraps us up. Thanks so much for spending time with us this afternoon. If you have any other questions that come to mind later, you have our contact information, and we'll get this deck out to everyone shortly. Thanks again. Have a good day.